Well, we have with us today, and I'm so thrilled, we have Jesse Ventura, family man, Navy SEAL, governor, TV personality. Gosh, he's done it all, but he is just a wonderful guy, and we're so pleased to have you on the show today. And I love talking to you because you are just, you say what you think you are. What we see is what we get, and I love it.
Well, you know, that can get you in trouble, Phil, because we like to think of ourselves as a country that wants the truth, but I tend to start not believing that fully because I guess to quote Jack Nicholson, maybe some people can't handle the truth, but I'm the type of person, I live for the truth, I can handle the truth, tell me what it is, and I'll deal with it, and that's how I try to treat people, and I hope they treat me the same way.
Talking about the truth, that's great. I'm glad you brought that up. Talking about the truth, talking about our government. You know, they keep telling us QE1, QE2. You know, they're doing all this for us. It's really great for the people. I don't see that. Am I correct in saying that the stimulus packages the government comes up with, they don't work because it doesn't? I don't see it boosting national income. I just see it merely redistributing it. And they're
well, if they want a true stimulus package, if you believe in those things, then you want to get it out at ground level. Mm-hmm. I did a true stimulus package in the state of Minnesota back when I was governor in the late 90s, early 2000, before the economy went sour. Minnesota government had a surplus every year. And I came in 3 out of the 4 years, I gave everybody a check back. I called it a sales tax rebate, so they didn't have to declare it on taxes. And the people took that money and they spent it. And that's what people fail to realize. What stimulates an economy is spending. Spending is what makes an economy work. You got to go spend money, but you can't do it with debt, which is unfortunately what our federal government does. They just put it on the credit card and never pay off the credit card. But in fact, a quick story: one elderly woman who got a rebate check from me, and these were checks as high as $2,500. Mm-hmm. And she got a rebate check, an elderly woman, and she told me, she said, I needed a new lawnmower. I took that check and bought it, and I named it Jesse. And I always laughed over that, but I thought, there's a stimulus package. If you're going to do some type of package, you have to do it at the people level, down on the ground, which then it will work because it'll go where it needs to go. But when you do a stimulus package to people that are already wealthy, that package ain't going far.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment. When they came in and bailed out the banks, that only helped out the banks. When they go and they print money every day and they give it to the banks to go out and speculate, go out and buy stocks.
Well, let's remember the banks print their own money.
Right.
We don't have nothing to do with it as government. That's the Federal Reserve.
There's the QE1 and the QE2. We're coming to an end with that. Now they're talking about QE3. Where is a former governor, and you've had to go with budgets, and budget, I guess you did. You couldn't print money. You had to meet your budget.
And plus it had to be by law balanced.
Exactly. So this QE3, I mean, how long can they keep doing this? If they do another QE and they keep printing money and they keep on throwing it at the economy,
I don't know. You're asking me a question that is territory that I have no expertise in. I've never been a debtor in my life.
And that's our problem.
I've lived my life and paid my bills, and I learned it from my mom. My mom was a businesswoman before it was even fashionable, and my mom bought a new car every 4 years, and she paid cash. She never bought a car on payments in her life. She would pay off our mortgage as quickly as possible. And that's what she taught me on fiscal responsibility. Do not be in debt.
Boy, is that the truth? You know, you say in your book you're talking about the corporations, and you're talking about. I always look at these corporations that own us, like I don't know if you're talking about the same with the banking, the healthcare, and defense, and agriculture, and telecommunication, big oil. Seems like they own us.
They do.
And it seems like the very people who are supposed to go fix the budget deficits, the Congress was supposed to go fix the budget deficits, meaning they got to go fix them. They got to go fix the banks. But how can they fix them when they're the ones that go out hand in hand and asking them for money?
Because to me, what you're seeing today is a direct attack on the middle class in America. It's the destruction of the middle class. They want us to be like every other country, rich and poor. The great thing about America that stood for all these years was that you could be an average American and you could raise a family and survive and be comfortable here. That's no longer going to be the case because they're dividing us like every other third world country. This whole mortgage thing, the mortgage, the home mortgage was the stability of the middle class. That was the thing the middle class would invest in for 30 years, and it would pay dividends at the end of those 30 years that someone could leave for their children. Someone could do whatever it is they wanted to do and have financial security. And now they've destroyed the home industry, they've destroyed the mortgage industry, and to me it's a direct assault on the middle class America.
We're talking with Jesse Ventura. You got to get his book, American Conspiracies.
No, this is 63 documents the government doesn't want you to read. American Conspiracies was the one before it.
Oh, okay. This is. Oh, I'm sorry.
I wrote. No, that's fine. Okay. And I wrote this because of American Conspiracies. I took so much grief over telling the conspiracies and showing that the conspiracies have more validation than the government story. Dick and I then decided, well, let's do a book, and we actually chose to do this. We started months before Wiki Leaks, and we said, let's do a book on government documents. That way they can't challenge us. That way these are the government's documents. Here they are. You can't yell at us for it. The government's. They're theirs. They have ownership.
And what is your opinion on the WikiLeaks now that you brought that up?
Well, first of all, I think they're heroes. I mean, let me state this. Do you know how many documents last year the government declared top secret that you can't read?
No.
16 million.
Jeez.
Now, I have every right. I pay taxes. It's done with my tax dollars. I have every right to know what my taxes are spent on. And when you see my book, 63 documents the government doesn't want you to read, I hope you become as irate as I am that they're taking my money and spending it on the things that these documents talk about. And that's why we have a right to know. They operate on our money. And it's outrageous when, okay, let me give you one to think about. Documents 24 and 25 to me are especially scary. Emergency detention camps and civilian inmate labor program. And this is all in the last decade, sir.
Wow.
What are we talking about here? That sounds like something out of Nazi Germany or the Russian Gulag or whatever. This is the United States of America. It's like I call us now, the United States of hypocrisy. We talk freedom, but we're giving it up left and right.
How tough was it to find all the documents that you put in your book?
They're there. You just got to go dig for them. We didn't turn over any magical stones. On the epilogue, we list 12 places where people can go on their own, do their own investigating.
Jesse, tell me a little bit about the lawsuit with TSA.
Well, I have metal in my body. So when I would pass through the metal detector, it will go off whether I go through naked. So I used to be subjected to the wanding. I put up with it. It angered me, though, as the summer went on last summer because of why? I was getting comfortable being searched. And I don't think anyone that lives in a free country should feel comfortable being searched.
Good point.
Follow me?
Good point.
So then, in the end of last fall, I was finishing my TV show. They changed, and they went to these X-ray machines and this extended search. I refuse to go in the X-ray machines because they're dangerous. They don't know the results. You can't tell me getting X-rayed 4 times a week is good for you. So I demand the manual search. It was done to me one time. It is a sexual assault. I immediately came home. I called my attorney. I said, I won't put up with this. What do we do? And he came about with a way. Initially, we were going to try to sue under the American Disabilities Act because I'm disabled. But unfortunately, that act doesn't apply to the government. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it doesn't.
It only applies to the private sector. We have to abide by it. They don't. Why do we let them by with that? Well, then we decided the best route was the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, and the key is reasonable search and seizure. I do not believe it's reasonable to believe that Jesse Ventura poses a threat. I'm a 6-year Navy veteran, I'm a governor, and I'm a mayor. Why do I have to be subjected to proving my innocence every time I go to an airport? I've been flying for 30 years throughout my jobs.
Well, the interesting thing with the TSA, we fly with them. They put you and me through that, but under the belly of the plane, they have packages they don't even put through any screening.
Well, here's another thing. It's arbitrary. The Speaker of the House isn't subjected to it. How come?
Yeah, right.
How is the Speaker any more patriotic than me?
Yeah, well, I don't think she's more patriotic than you.
Well, that's my point.
I know. There's very few people that are.
And it begs the bigger question. You know what the bigger question is?
What's that?
Why, since airlines are private sector industry, why does the government provide security? Why doesn't the airlines provide their own?
That's a great question.
Why is it the government providing? That way, I'm out of Minneapolis, which Delta merged with Northwest, so all the flights, 90% are Delta.
Right.
I can have a relationship with Delta Airlines where they know Governor Jesse Ventura is not a threat. He's a business person. They could put me on the plane and not look at anything.
Governor, talking about business, let's go to the national health care, the Obamacare. That, you know, I was watching CNBC this morning, and I guess these people just don't get it. And they're talking about, well, we don't understand. If businesses have so much money, why don't they just go and hire people? First of all, they wouldn't be in business if they acted like that. But the health care, someone brought up today, well, there's uncertainty in health care. And the fellow came back and said, well, there's no uncertainty in health care. Give me your thoughts on national health care.
Well, first of all, I think it's an atrocity that a country as rich as ours, that every person doesn't have the right to go to the doctor if they're sick. And let me state, if we weren't involved in these wars, we would have more money for health care than we'd know what to do with. But we would rather be in war. You know what troubled me, the 2010 elections? The wars weren't even on the agenda. They weren't even on the menu. No one even talked about them. Am I correct?
You're correct.
Yeah, they have us so accustomed to being at war now that we accept it as every day. I think that's the problem. Let's deal with that, and if we get out of the wars, we can pay for all the health care we need. Maybe. Let's also remember we're going to have a ton of veterans who are now going to need that health care, and yet they get government-run health care, don't they?
That's right.
Well, if it's good enough for a veteran, should it be good enough for you and I?
Sure is.
Interesting points, huh?
Very interesting point. And we are speaking with Jesse Ventura, former governor, author of 63 documents. And I want to ask you a real important question here. You say that our political system has been bought by corporations. Expand just a little bit more on that.
Well, if you go to the Democratic and the Republican conventions, you'll see the same corporate lobbyists at both. Look at their donations. They're all bought off by the corporations. Our Supreme Court comes out with what I considered the most devastating ruling to our country's history, when they declared a corporation has equal rights as an individual. Pretty soon, I guess, corporations will be able to vote too, won't they?
That's right.
And that's my point. Both of these parties, Barack Obama ran on change we can believe in. Where is it?
There is.
George Bush could be in there right now. I haven't seen anything different. We're still at war. The wars have been expanded. We're still prosecuting whistleblowers even worse now.
Jesse.
And, you know, to me, if this country doesn't wake up and realize as long as you elect Democrats and Republicans, they are the ones responsible for the shape our country's in. It's unarguable. If I ran against them, I would beat them. Because when I run against them, which I've done twice, I don't run against the individual. I run against the two parties, and I win.
And you win.
Because the two parties are so corrupt, they are easy to defeat.
Let's talk about jobs for a moment. Friday was a very poor number. What is it that these guys are missing that they can't create jobs? What?
Well, first of all, how does government create jobs?
They don't.
Isn't that the private sector's job?
Sure is.
Well, that's why when you get a candidate that comes out, jobs, 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 I always laugh. I go, the only job you can create is a government job, which then we have to pay for with taxes.
That's right. You got to borrow from us for taxes.
No, what you got to do is, though, the government can create an atmosphere that's good for business, but it also needs to regulate. We saw what unregulation does, Wall Street. When they took the cuffs off the Republicans and let Wall Street run amok, you just got the results of it. So that's the government's job. The government's job, and what I'm talking about, if you want to talk to Jesse Ventura, then you talk about wholesale changes to our country beyond belief. And that is this. Let's abolish the income tax and go to a national sales tax.
There you go.
A consumption tax. Wealth is determined not by what you make, it's determined by what you consume. So you have consumption tax, should be your majority tax. If you make $1 million a year, but you live in a studio apartment and drive a beat-up Volkswagen, why should you be taxed like a millionaire when you're not living like one?
Good point.
So let's do real change to America if you truly want Jesse Ventura. Do you see now why I can't be president?
Well, I don't know.
Because I would change the face of what America is.
Who would you trust now? Who would you trust right now to be if you could just go pick up? The closest
guy I trust is Ron Paul.
There you go. Yeah.
Ron Paul, and that he had the courage to stand up for Wiki Leaks. He made the statement that was so right on when he said, "You mean in a free country, when telling the truth gets you accused of treason? Something's gravely wrong."
But what's going to be his big problem? What's going to be his hurdle? Why?
Well, his hurdle is the Republicans ain't going to put Ron Paul up. Ron Paul, if he's going to run for president, is going to have to do it as an independent.
But can he do it as an independent?
Then you're bucking the system, boy. You're bucking the media. You're bucking everybody.
Well, you know. I was just going to ask. You know that if anybody knows that, could you ever be president or independent? How do you raise that kind of money?
I could. Just get me ballot access in all 50 states. See, it's different in every state. That's how they keep people like me out. I can beat them.
Well, I know you
There's no doubt in my mind. If I had ballot access and I can beat them without money. You know how much money I raised to become governor of Minnesota?
Explain that a minute. Explain that, the ballot access. Explain that to people.
Ballot access. Each state requires you to jump through different hurdles to get on the ballot in their state. And if you're not a member of the Democratic or Republican parties, they're automatically on.
Oh.
I have to go to every state, get signatures, run through all these hoops, spend huge amounts of money to make that happen. I won't do that. I don't go panhandling. I'm not a panhandler. That's what I hate about the system.
So they do that purposely, then?
Bribery.
So they do that purposely, right?
Sure they do. That keeps me. If I could run against them, I can beat them.
Oh, I know you could.
Because I run against the two parties, and the two parties are so corrupt, it's laughable.
Well, how do we fix that?
You stop voting for them. Simple. But getting the minions and the lemmings to do it is monumental. You're climbing Mount Everest to get somebody not to vote for Democrats or Republicans.
It all comes to money too, right? I mean,
well, it's let me tell you. Did you know when I ran for governor of Minnesota in 1999 when I won?
Yeah.
I only raised $300,000.
I know, that was amazing.
See, I beat them with ideas. I don't beat them with money. That's why they're so afraid of me.
Where are you? Are you gonna get back into the game?
With my friends in Mexico, you know what they call me down there, don't you?
No.
Che.
They call you what?
My Mexican friends down in Mexico refer to me as Che.
Oh, Che Guevara.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They think that when I'm down there, they think I'm hiding out from the United States.
Jeez, my Lord.
Because I live where there's no electricity.
You talking about your military record is great. What was your first thought when you heard the Navy SEALs took out?
Well, naturally I'm proud. You know, the Navy SEALs are the guys to do it. They're the most well-trained.
Yeah.
They are the best, and they should have the job if that's what the job is. And I have great pride in that fact of being from the Navy Special Warfare Brown Water Navy. But let me say this, there's still an ache in my stomach over the fact that my government has lied to me so often. I don't know if I can believe it.
Right.
Because they lied about the murder of Pat Tillman. They lied about the rescue of Jessica Lynch. They lied about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. They lied about ties to Al-Qaeda in Iraq to get into those wars. So they have no, you know, it's like meeting someone and having that person lie to you over the course of 10 years on 5 or 6 major things, and then they tell you something. Are you expected to believe it?
No, well, I'd be so lucky they're going to be truthful that time. Is it possible that he was dead before?
Well, the guy was supposedly on dialysis 10 years ago, and the experts said the disease he had is fatal within 2 to 3. How did he survive 10?
Yeah.
I don't know. Only, you know, who will ever know?
You won't know.
You won't.
What do you say? What do you say with the kids that look up to you, and especially the kids who want to get into politics? And what do you say to them when you talk?
I say to them what my T-shirts. I have a website now. It's weaintgottimetobleed.com.
Oh, I love that. What is it? We ain't got time.
weaintgottimetobleed.com, and I got great T-shirts from Jesse Ventura. You know
great.
what they say? The T-shirt says, "I love my country, not my government."
That's great.
And that's where I stand right now. I love my country. I always have.
So how do we get
I do not love my government.
Well, how do we get you back into the game here?
And I think that's a fair statement. Bill Clinton scared me the worst when he said, "How can you love your country and not your government?"
Uh-huh.
And I take the opposite viewpoint. I say, Bill, ask the Germans in the 30s. They could tell you.
There you go.
And I said, it's easy to love your country and not your government. I do not love my government because my government is made up of the Democratic and Republican Party. I do not love them. I despise them.
So where do you go next? What's your goals next?
To be as proficient on a surfboard as I can.
That's great. And a hole-in-one.
No, I'm going to next year. I am going to learn paddle surfing.
There you go.
And that's what my focus is on. I'm training all summer because you got to be in phenomenal shape.
But it's sad for us that we can't get
paddle surfing next year.
But it's sad for us and for the country that we can't get you back into the game.
Well, you know, if the odds were that I didn't have to go out and bastardize and prostitute myself with bribery money to be able to compete, which is the system that's created, I would consider it. But I won't fundraise. I won't do it. My parents, that's panhandling to me, and if you return it as a favor, it's bribery. And we have an entire system based on panhandling and bribery.
That's another. Talk about panhandling. I know this is off.
Panhandling's the guys you meet, the bums on the street.
I was just going to ask you.
And they say, you got a quarter for me. Well, that's what the politician says to you. Give me some money so I can run for this job. That's called panhandling.
Well, there's enough panhandling on the street where I live, I'll tell you that.
Well, that's what it is. Our system is based on it. And if they give you the money and you return them with a favor, then it's bribery. Then he's bribed you. And that's our entire system.
One last question.
Sure.
Social Security. Everybody's talking about Social Security.
Boy, you're asking me to solve all these damn problems.
Yeah, well, you're the guy.
I ain't running for president.
But tell me about Social Security. What's the answer?
I don't know what the answer is, but all I know is that the part that angers me is that they sent me a letter probably 10, 12 years ago stating that I had maxed out.
Right.
And yet I still got to keep paying it.
I know.
Well, if I maxed out and I'm going to get full benefits and I've put in enough, why do I have to keep paying it? Well, of course, I'm being funny there. I know why.
Right, it's a Ponzi scheme.
There ain't no money, and you're paying for the people that are getting it now.
No.
My problem is I fear I've paid Social Security now and self-employment tax for 40-some years. And I fear because I've been successful, I'll be penalized when it's my turn to get it, they won't let me have it because I'm worth too much.
And you're right, absolutely right. Okay.
And if that happens, I will then leave the United States of America for good.
With about 30 seconds left, Jesse, what do you want people to get from your book, out of your book?
I want them to wake up and smell the coffee. I want them to listen to what Ben Franklin said. If you give up your liberty for security, you end up with neither liberty or security. And I want my country to take its head out of the sand and understand, get our egos out of the way and realize, yes, we can have evil government because government is made up of people and people can be evil.
Well, you're a great American. You really are. And,
well, I don't know about that.
No, you are. You are.
You know, I'm just somebody that I'm not going to give up my country without a fight.
Well, you're a great guy, great American, and I really enjoyed your interview. It's been terrific. It's been a lot of fun, and I have a great deal of respect for you. You're a terrific guy.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. We'll talk again if I write another book.
Yeah, and I'd love to. Yeah, we're gonna get. Let's do your website again. And
it's simple. It's weaintgottimetobleed.com.
Okay, and
you can get the Jesse T-shirts.
And
I love my country, not my government.
And let's get your book, 63 Documents. That's got to be that's got to be fascinating.
Yeah, well, it's already a New York Times bestseller. It's doing so good, they got me doing more publicity on it.
Well, that's
great. Here we are again.
Well, let's get some more. We'll get some more sold for you. Listen, Jesse, thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it very much. Keep up the good work.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.